Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Coin number 1. Today, we're diving deep into the story of a coin that might seem common at first glance but could actually be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered in your very own coin jar, the rare 1960 Lincoln penny from the United States. Stick with us, because what you're about to learn might just have you checking your coin collection with a magnifying glass. This isn't just a penny, it's a piece of American history, and for some collectors out there, it's worth much more than 1 cent. Let's start by rewinding time to the year 1960. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, Elvis Presley was topping the charts, and the United States was in the midst of a post-war economic boom. It was also the year when something curious happened at the U.S. Mint, something that would later spark excitement among coin collectors and create one of the most talked about varieties in modern numismatics. In 1960, the U.S. Mint produced the Lincoln cent in both Philadelphia and Denver. That year, however, 2 versions of the coin were released, one with a small date and one with a large date. This may sound like a minor detail, but in the world of coin collecting, such variations can be a huge deal. The small date and large date differences are especially noticeable in the shape and size of the numbers in the date 1960 on the coin's obverse side. Now, most people wouldn't pay attention to the difference between a slightly smaller 9 or a taller 6. But to collectors, this variation marks a significant point in minting history, and the small date in particular became a rare and valuable find. But that's not where the story ends. You see, something even more interesting happened at the Denver Mint. There, a rare version of the coin was struck, the 1960 small date Lincoln cent. It was produced in much smaller quantities than its large date counterpart. Over time, collectors realized just how hard it was to find this particular version, especially in pristine, uncirculated condition, and that scarcity? Well, it drove up the value like wildfire. But wait, there's even more to this copper-coated mystery. Some of these 1960 pennies have been found with doubling on the obverse, what numismatists call a doubled die. This error occurs during the minting process when the coin's design is struck more than once and doesn't align perfectly. The result? A coin that shows doubled letters or numbers, like in the word Liberty or the date itself. Now, imagine this, a 1960 small date Lincoln penny with a doubled die error, in mint state condition. That's like hitting the coin collector's jackpot. The design of the Lincoln penny itself hasn't changed much over the years, which is part of what makes these small variations so valuable. On the front, we still see the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, a powerful symbol of unity and national pride. From 1959 to 2008, this memorial design was used before it was eventually replaced by the Union Shield. So why is the 1960 Lincoln penny so special in a sea of nearly identical coins? It comes down to 3 words: rarity, condition, and error. Let's talk rarity first. Millions of pennies were minted in 1960, but only a small fraction were the small date variety. Even fewer were struck in Denver. And the tiniest portion of all were preserved in perfect condition. Next, condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale that goes from poor to mint state. A penny from 1960 that's been tossed around in pockets and drawers for decades won't fetch much. But a coin that looks like it was minted yesterday? That can bring in serious cash. And finally, the error factor. Doubled dies, off-center strikes, or other minting mistakes transform a simple coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible. And now, if you're sitting there wondering whether you might have one of these coins hiding in your home, don't be too quick to dismiss those old pennies. Grab a magnifier and check the date. Look for small, sharp numbers in 1960, and if it has a D mint mark below the date, you might just be holding something extraordinary. Collectors across the globe have been willing to pay impressive amounts for these coins, especially when all the stars align: a small date, a Denver mint mark, and flawless condition. And just how much can one of these rare 1960 Lincoln pennies be worth? Well, here comes the moment you've been waiting for. One of these tiny, humble copper coins has been sold for a jaw-dropping $105,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single Lincoln cent from 1960 worth $105,000 to the right collector, in the right condition, with the right rare features. So don't underestimate the change in your pocket. That 1 cent might just turn out to be a hidden treasure. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more amazing coin discoveries, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you've got any old coins lying around, tell us about them in the comments. We love hearing from fellow treasure hunters. Coin number 2. We're diving into a coin that most Americans have probably seen 100 times without realizing what it could be worth, the 1964 D Lincoln penny. That's right, we're talking about a 1-cent coin. Just a penny. But don't let its small size or common appearance fool you, because the story behind this coin is anything but ordinary. By the end of this video, you'll be looking at every 1964 penny you find a whole lot differently. You might even want to grab a magnifying glass, because this 1-cent piece could be worth a small fortune. Let's rewind to the early 1960s. The United States was buzzing with change. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, the Beatles were about to invade America, and the space race was in full swing. But something else was quietly happening, something small, made of copper, and barely noticed at the time: the mass production of Lincoln pennies. In 1964, the U.S. Mint produced a staggering number of Lincoln cents. Billions were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver. The Denver Mint pennies can be recognized by the small D mint mark just beneath the date. With such a high number of coins in circulation, you might think these pennies are too common to be worth anything, but here's where things get interesting. Even among billions of coins, a few mistakes can happen. And in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes can be incredibly valuable. The 1964 D Lincoln penny is one of those coins that has sparked attention because of some very rare and highly collectible errors and variations. Some versions of the 1964 D penny have what's called a double die error. This happens during the minting process when the die strikes the coin more than once in a slightly misaligned way, creating a doubling effect on the lettering, numbers, or even Lincoln's profile. When that doubling appears on the date or the word Liberty, collectors take notice and they're willing to pay big for it. But it's not just doubled dies that make the 1964 D penny stand out. Another reason these coins have become so valuable is because of their condition. Most pennies from that era have been through decades of circulation. They've been in pockets, piggy banks, and coin jars. They've picked up scratches, dings, and signs of wear. But a 1964 D penny in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, especially one with a unique minting error, can command a premium price. Let's talk about the design for a moment. The Lincoln penny, originally designed in 1909 by Victor David Brenner, features one of the most iconic profiles in American coinage, President Abraham Lincoln. The reverse of the 1964 coin still displays the Lincoln Memorial, added in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. It's more than just currency, it's a tribute to one of America's greatest leaders. Now, you might be wondering, how can such a tiny, common coin become a collector's dream? The answer lies in the details. Some rare 1964 D pennies were struck with slightly off-center designs. Others were produced using older, worn-out dies that caused weak strikes and unusual textures. Some even have repunched mint marks, a subtle but valuable detail where the D was punched more than once, resulting in a noticeable shadow or doubling of the mint mark. All of these factors, minting errors, die varieties, and condition, come together to make certain 1964 D Lincoln cents incredibly desirable in the eyes of collectors. And here's the best part: these rare pennies aren't buried in a museum or locked away in a vault. They're out there. In old coffee cans. In dusty drawers. In inherited collections. Even in coin rolls from your local bank. All it takes is a careful eye, a bit of knowledge, and maybe a little luck. So how do you know if your 1964 D penny is one of the rare ones? First, look at the date and the mint mark. Is the D crisp and clean, or does it appear doubled or shadowed? Next, check the overall condition of the coin. Is the detail in Lincoln's hair and coat sharp? Is there any visible doubling on the text or numbers? If you're not sure, you can always take your coin to a professional appraiser or submit it to a coin grading service for evaluation. Many people throw pennies aside, thinking they're worthless. But in the world of numismatics, even the smallest coin can hold incredible value if it has the right story behind it, and the story of the 1964 D penny is still unfolding. New discoveries, new error varieties, and new price records continue to pop up in the world of rare coin auctions. One tiny copper coin, once dismissed as spare change, has shocked collectors and made headlines for the staggering amount it brought in. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, one of these rare 1964 D Lincoln pennies, in top condition and featuring unique characteristics. was sold to a collector for a mind-blowing total of $95,000. That's right, $95,000 for a coin that started life as a humble 1-cent piece. So before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, take a closer look. The next time you're sorting through your change, you just might be holding a piece of history worth more than a brand new car. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most surprising coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on a valuable discovery. Got a rare coin of your own? Drop a comment and let us know, we might feature it in a future video. Coin number 3. Where pocket change becomes pure treasure. If you're someone who loves the thrill of finding hidden gems in everyday places, or you're a coin collector hunting for your next big score, then you're in for a real treat. We're going to talk about a tiny coin with a huge story, the 1966 Lincoln penny. And now, you might be thinking, what's so special about a penny from 1966? Don't those show up in change all the time? And that's exactly what makes this story so exciting. Because this 1-cent piece, often overlooked, can sometimes carry secrets that collectors are willing to pay serious money to uncover. So stay with me, because what you learn in the next few minutes might just turn your dusty coin jar into a goldmine. Let's rewind to 1966. America was in the middle of the swinging 60s. The Beatles were changing music, civil rights were changing the country, and the Vietnam War was changing lives. It was a time of upheaval, but also innovation and cultural revolution. And in the background of all that history, the U.S. Mint was hard at work, quietly striking the coins we still use today. Among them was the humble Lincoln penny. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this coin had become a staple in every American's pocket. And in 1966, it featured the same beloved design, Lincoln's profile on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, an iconic tribute to the man who preserved the Union. But there's a twist. Something very different happened at the U.S. Mint during the mid-1960s, something that makes the 1966 penny especially intriguing. You see, during the years 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed all mint marks from coins. Why? Because the coin shortage was becoming a national issue. People were hoarding coins with silver content or unique mint marks, causing chaos in circulation. To combat this, the mint decided to strike coins without identifying which mint they came from. That means no D4 Denver, no S4 San Francisco, just the date and design. So, all 1966 pennies were minted without a mint mark. At first glance, that might not sound important. But for collectors, it's a major clue that tells a story about a rare moment in U.S. coinage history. A moment when the government changed how coins were made to fix a crisis. That alone gives the 1966 penny historical weight, but wait, it gets even better. Though billions of these pennies were struck, not all of them are the same. A small number of 1966 pennies contain minting errors or rare die varieties that make them incredibly valuable. One such variety includes doubling, where parts of the design, such as the date or the word liberty, appear doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. These are known as doubled die errors, and they're like winning the coin collector's lottery. A double die penny can increase in value dramatically, especially if the coin is in good condition. There are also die cracks, off-center strikes, and even planchet errors, where the coin is struck on the wrong metal or is missing part of the design. These mistakes don't happen often, but when they do, and they survive into circulation, they become one-of-a-kind treasures. And let's not forget condition. Most 1966 pennies have been around the block more times than we can count. They're scratched, faded, and worn from decades of use. But a 1966 Lincoln penny in mint state condition, that means shiny, crisp, and uncirculated, is a different story entirely. Collectors pay close attention to the coin's grade, which can range from poor, P1, to mint state, MS70. The closer a coin is to perfection, the higher its value. If your 1966 penny still has that beautiful reddish luster, sharp details in Lincoln's beard, and the lettering is razor sharp, it could be worth far more than just 1 cent. And here's a fun fact. Even though all 1966 pennies were officially produced without a mint mark, there have been rare reports of unofficial or accidental strikes that slipped through quality control, potentially making them unique among their kind. If such a coin exists, or ever shows up, it would absolutely rock the coin collecting world. And now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my 1966 penny is valuable? Start by checking the condition. Is it uncirculated? Look for doubling in the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile. Hold it under good lighting, or better yet, use a jeweler's loupe. Any strange detailed misalignment, weak strike, or something that just looks off could be the clue that you're holding something incredibly rare. Don't toss that penny aside just because it looks ordinary. In coin collecting, ordinary can be deceptive. The 1966 penny is one of those coins that rewards people who pay attention. And the rewards? Let's just say they're more than worth your time now. For the moment you've all been waiting for, one of these incredible 1966 Lincoln pennies, in exceptional condition and with the right rare features, was sold to a collector for the jaw-dropping sum of $88,000. Yes, that's right. A single penny worth $88,000. So before you dump out your piggy bank or roll up that spare change, take a closer look. That 1-cent coin might just be the key to an unexpected fortune. If you enjoyed this video and loved learning about rare and valuable coins, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a chance to discover the next hidden gem in your collection. Coin number 4. Where we uncover the stories behind everyday coins that might just be worth a small fortune. Today, we're diving into a coin that might be hiding in plain sight, the 1976 Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent. A copper coin that most people wouldn't give a second thought. But stick with me, because the 1976 penny is more than just loose change. It's a fascinating piece of American history, and in rare cases, it can be worth far more than anyone would expect. Let's take a journey back to 1976. It was America's bicentennial year. 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Patriotism was everywhere. Red, white, and blue decorations filled homes, parades marched across the nation, and fireworks lit up the skies. The country was celebrating its past, its progress, and its promise for the future. And now, while most coins that year featured special bicentennial designs, the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar all had unique imagery to mark the occasion, the humble penny kept its classic look. No fanfare. No change in design. Just Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. And yet, the penny still played a quiet but important role in the nation's pockets during this iconic year. But something interesting happened at the Denver Mint in 1976. That's where the D Mint mark comes from, Denver. Millions of Lincoln pennies were struck that year, just like any other. But within those millions, a few rare examples were produced that have kept collectors talking for decades. So, what makes the 1976 D penny so special? The answer lies in the fine details. First off, like all collectible coins, condition matters a lot. A 1976 D penny that has been through years of wear and tear won't bring much attention. But if that same coin is found in pristine, uncirculated condition, it becomes a different story entirely. Coins that have been perfectly preserved, no scratches, no discoloration, no circulation damage, are graded by professionals on a scale from 1 to 70. The closer to 70, the more valuable the coin, but condition alone isn't everything. Some 1976 D pennies contain minting errors or varieties that set them apart from the rest. One of the most sought-after error types is the doubled die, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a slight misalignment in the striking process. This doubling can be seen in the date, the word liberty, or even in the phrase, "In God we trust." These kinds of errors are highly collectible, especially when paired with a high-grade coin. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and even floating roof errors, where the roof of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse appears to be detached or misaligned due to die wear or misproduction. All of these features may seem minor, but to coin collectors, they are golden. Why? Because they are rare. And in the world of coins, rarity is everything. Now let's talk about the materials. The 1976 D penny was made primarily of copper, about 95%, along with a small percentage of zinc. This makes it a classic example of a pre-1982 copper penny, which already gives it more value than face value just for the metal content alone. But when you add in rarity, error features, and excellent condition, the value jumps significantly. The Lincoln penny design itself has a long and proud history. Introduced in 1909 to mark the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real person. And Lincoln, with his deep ties to freedom, unity, and perseverance, was the perfect choice. His face on the coin represents strength through difficult times, and for America, 1976 was a moment of reflection and hope. Now here's something even more exciting: most people don't check their pennies. They pile them up in jars, lose them in couch cushions, or toss them in tip jars without a second glance. But what if I told you that one of those 1976 pennies, yes, one of those tiny coins, could actually be worth a fortune? It's true. Some extremely rare versions of this coin, especially those with flawless condition and known errors, have shocked the coin collecting world with their market value. And these coins aren't kept in secret vaults. They've been found in old collections, dusty drawers, inherited boxes, even in regular rolls of pennies from the bank. So how do you know if your 1976 penny might be one of the valuable ones? Start by checking the coin's condition. If it still has that bright copper shine and no signs of circulation wear, that's a good start. Next, take a magnifying glass and examine the date, the lettering, and the details in Lincoln's coat, hair, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Look for doubling, off-center images, or unusual textures. Anything that looks off could be a clue to something valuable. If you think you've got something special, it's worth getting the coin professionally graded or appraised. Services like PCGS or NGC can tell you exactly what you're holding, and in the world of coin collecting, certification can make a massive difference when it comes to value. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for. One of these rare 1976 Lincoln pennies, in exceptional mint state condition and containing an extraordinary mint error, was sold for a staggering total of $68,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny worth $68,000. So the next time you see a 1976 penny lying around, don't ignore it. Look closer. Because that small copper coin might just be the big discovery you never expected. Coin number 5. We're talking about a coin that looks ordinary on the outside but hides a powerful secret within. It's the 1984 Lincoln penny, and it might just be one of the most underrated coins ever struck by the US Mint. That's right, the 1-cent coin from 1984. It's easy to overlook. But what if I told you this small copper coin, if it has the right features, could be worth thousands? Let's go back in time. The year is 1984. Ronald Reagan is president. The Los Angeles Olympics are electrifying the world. Prince is topping the music charts with Purple Rain, and the Macintosh computer is making its debut. It was a big year for change, socially, technologically, and even in the pocket change of millions of Americans. Among all the events shaping history, the US Mint was doing its usual job, producing billions of coins for circulation. The Lincoln penny was among them, a familiar face in every purse, wallet, and cash register in the country. And now, the design of the Lincoln penny hadn't changed much since 1959. On the front, we see the stately profile of President Abraham Lincoln, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly, an image added to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Simple. Timeless. Iconic, but sometimes, even in the most routine minting processes, something unusual happens. And in 1984, something did that year. An extremely rare error occurred during the production of a small number of Lincoln cents. This was no ordinary misprint. This was what collectors call a doubled die error. Specifically, a doubled die obverse, meaning the front of the coin Lincoln's face was struck twice, slightly misaligned. So what does that look like? Imagine looking closely at the coin. You see Lincoln's face, as usual. But then, look at his ear. If you've got one of these rare error coins, you'll notice a second earlobe underneath the first. Not just a blur or a scratch, but an actual duplicate earlobe. This dramatic doubling is unmistakable once you've seen it, and it's exactly what sends collectors into a frenzy. That's right, it's known as the 1984 doubled ear Lincoln cent, and it's one of the most famous die errors in modern penny history. Now, why does an extra earlobe matter so much? Because it's rare. And in the coin world, rarity equals value, especially when combined with strong demand and clean condition. The doubled die ear error was caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process, when the design was being pressed into the die. This mistake happened on a very small number of dies, which were then used to strike thousands of coins before being retired. Most of those coins were mixed into circulation and vanished into everyday use, but a few survived. And when those few show up today, collectors are willing to pay big money for them. Now, let's talk condition. As with all coins, value depends heavily on the state it's in. A 1984 doubled ear penny that's scratched, corroded, or worn down from years of circulation will still have some value, but it won't fetch top dollar. On the other hand, a well-preserved example, especially one graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS65 or higher, can skyrocket in worth. You'll want to look for strong detail in Lincoln's coat, hair, and lettering. The color of the coin, whether it's a rich red or dull brown, can also affect its desirability. A bright red, uncirculated penny is the gold standard, but that's not the only type of error found in 1984 Lincoln pennies. Some have been discovered with off-center strikes, die chips, or plating bubbles, since this was around the time when the US transitioned from solid copper pennies to copper-plated zinc. These are interesting and sometimes valuable on their own, but it's the doubled die obverse, especially with the extra earlobe, that truly takes the spotlight. And here's the kicker: many people don't even know what they're holding. The 1984 double-ear penny has been found in pocket change, in old penny rolls from the bank, in inherited coin jars, and even in dusty drawers people haven't opened in years. So, how do you know if you have one? Take your 1984 Lincoln pennies and examine them under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Focus on Lincoln's ear. If you see an unmistakable second earlobe beneath the first, your heart just might skip a beat. If the rest of the coin is in excellent condition, well, you could be sitting on something truly special. Coins like this are a perfect example of why coin collecting is so thrilling. There's history, mystery, and the chance of finding something rare where you least expect it. A single detail, one that was invisible to most eyes, could be the difference between a penny and a payday. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for: one of these 1984 Lincoln pennies, with the doubled ear variety and in pristine mint state condition, was sold to a passionate collector for an incredible total of $53,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny worth $53,000. So the next time you're digging through a jar of change or picking up a penny off the ground, pause for a moment and take a closer look. That little coin might just be your lucky day. If you found this video interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another rare coin story. And hey, if you've ever found a weird or unusual penny, drop your story in the comments. We might feature it in a future episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy hunting, and may your next penny be priceless.